Hey everybody, Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully everyone's doing well. So we're on the way to the end of 2023 here. This will leave only 2 weeks left as we head towards the end of this weekend. It's kind of crazy to believe that it's already passed by so quickly. That being said, make sure you're hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, because the weather is still active even as we close out the year. So I'm pretty sure to anybody that's been following the page for a little bit here, especially over the last week, we've been talking about this for a little while, and we're finally within the 72-hour range. So now we can actually get a look at the marginal risk right now. So it's kind of been as called for the last few days on my end, mainly looking more so like a nocturnal severe weather threat, mainly in the form of a tornado threat, but it's a very low confidence threat. And basically, for those that haven't been watching, we're going to transition over to the models pretty quickly. This isn't going to be a long video at all because we're not looking very far in range or anything like that. But basically what's going to happen is these two upper level lows are going to develop and push off to the north and east. But I want you to watch what happens as we go through the back half of Friday and into Saturday. We can see that this low begins to develop right around here, and on the east side of Florida, especially towards the northeastern side, there could be some amplification with this low going here, and maybe we could get enough to such a point to where maybe on the back end of this there could be potential for a few tornadoes, water spouts, etc. as we go through Saturday into Sunday. I think, like I said, it's really going to be more so the back half of Saturday and into Sunday here. And then I really think it kind of falls off at Sunday because a little bit more cold air comes into play here. But that's looking at one model. That's the Euro to the left here. GFS to the right is going to paint a slightly different picture here. So we watch this move forward. Pretty much a similar deal, but this load matures a little bit earlier in its life cycle here. This is heading into Saturday afternoon, and then as we go through the nighttime hours into Saturday, that's when we really get some things going here. And maybe on the once again, I'm thinking it could be potential, maybe a little further off to the west, of maybe a nocturnal tornado threat. Like I said, low confidence, a lot of model discrepancy, makes things very difficult. And then on top of that, we're factoring in a short wave at 700 millibars. So the mid levels of the atmosphere we're trying to look at that may or may not form. So it's one of those really conditional, not a lot of confidence type severe events. So what we see here is a pretty similar deal here. Short wave does form, but it forms even later than what the GFS is probably going to be showing here at this point. But it does mature pretty well as we go into the early part of Sunday morning here. And I think this is where we get our chance for maybe a spin up or two, maybe a couple more than that. Of course, we still have time for the models to trend either way. So this could ramp up. It could be pretty much nothing. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards it being rather minimal. Perhaps not nothing, but minimal. So that's Euro we just looked at. Here's the GFS. Like I said, matures a little bit earlier. Maybe a lot for a threat a little further out west. But eventually that does eventually move east in the overnight hours Sunday, and then into Monday, it kind of, into Sunday afternoon, it just kind of falls apart here. Will bring a lot of cold air and wind into play, and maybe you have to watch for a coastal storm, but I think too much warm air is going to be involved to really get anything going there. So of course, with that being said, mainly being focused on the severe threat, we'll look at the 850s from this point. One thing I didn't make note of in the beginning of the video is that regardless of whether this produces severe weather or not, this is going to be quite the rainmaker as well for the southeast in general. So we are going to look at the totals towards the end of it. All right, just need to get this to go here. Just give me a second. Technical difficulties, got it fixed up now. Had to switch over the internet here. I don't know what's going on with that, but here we are looking at the 850 on the Euro now. This is our low-level jet, pretty key factor in the development of severe weather. And I mean, you do see some veering of winds here, Like I said, nothing really robust or super impressive, but just this little ramp up where we get this little region here up to about 50 knots in the low level jet region, with a tiny bit of wind direction here where we're seeing change in this direction at the upper to mid levels here. I think it would be sufficient enough to get at least a couple of rotating storms here. Don't expect these to be high cape storms. These are going to mainly just be kinematic driven storms. Wouldn't expect to see a boatload of lightning out of these, but still could pack quite a punch, obviously, beyond even a tornado threat. But, so we have on the GFS there, or the Euro, if we go to the GFS here, it's going to be a pretty similar look. Of course, this is going to evolve a little earlier because that's what the trend has been here. So this is a little bit earlier in the evening. A little bit stronger LLJ with this, but similar direction here. So it's pretty much the same story here, but this also moves out a little bit quicker. So that's another thing to make note of with that as well. Then of course we're watching the coastal threat, the storm threat after the fact. So, but the progression of this is going to be key, and also the timing of this will be key. But I do think that parameters will be set in such a way to where we can get just enough of everything to get a little something going here. As far as moisture returns, I mean, we're right next to the Gulf of Mexico. It's almost always humid in Florida, so this shouldn't come to any surprise that we have favorable moisture here, to say the least here. So as that coastal, incoming cyclonic system comes in, dew points start to spike a little bit, getting into the mid 60s, more than sufficient enough there. Like I said, I really think instability is going to be the one thing that kind of inhibits this system, but you don't really need a whole lot of instability. I mean, even then, I think we could still get enough of that even to get going. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that in just a minute here. But you can see, once again, we get a good moisture return heading into Saturday night, into Sunday. And then once that system passes through, away we go. But we go to the temperature here. And this is where things get kind of interesting. I don't think it's going to be significant enough of a difference to really do anything to inhibit this system too much. Really, it's more or less going to depend on the maturation of that low pressure system and its cyclonic nature here. If it doesn't deepen, we'll probably see this threat start to diminish even further. So we got this back up and running. I don't know what's going on with the internet tonight, but it's the temperature outlook that we have going here. Main thing we want to pay attention to is Florida. We already know the pattern is going to be kind of shifting to the states further to the north here, but we're mainly emphasizing Florida here at this point. So this is heading into Saturday night, and still got those temperatures in the mid 60s. Like I said, the thermals actually are giving a little bit more in this than what I was expecting. Still getting sufficient temperature. So really, I think instability is going to be the issue here. The thermodynamics are somewhat sufficient, I should say. And then if we go look on the GFS, it's going to be pretty much a similar deal. That cyclone comes in. Actually, GFS seems to be a little bit warmer, if anything. So that's something else to keep in mind there. Which of the outcomes is going to end up prevailing here? I think GFS might be the one that comes with the more dangerous tornado threat if this comes to fruition. It could even yield a upgrade to slight risk if that plays out. If the Euro plays out, I think we're leaning more towards a marginal risk with a small chance of an upgrade there. But I guess next thing to do here will be to look at the instability. Like I said, main point of interest here is Florida, first and foremost here. And there's like a pocket or two where we see that instability, and like I said, it's not anything super amazing here. There's a little pocket here where we get above 1,000 joules, but for the most part we're going to be probably sitting in between 500 and 800 joules per kilogram here. So it's mixed there. We'll go ahead and look at the SKU-T chart as well, and for the most part we're actually even leaning towards severe. Like low level jet at this part isn't impressive. Low level jet was strongest a little bit further off to the north here. But we're right now looking at the area that has the greatest instability. Definitely looks like a downdraft type of event here. Don't expect any hail out of this for sure either. But if I were to go up here, go back a frame, instability comes into play here, but that low level jet looks a little bit better. Lapse rates aren't very impressive, so these are going to be very messy storm systems. So like I said, it's very difficult to kind of decipher what's going to happen with this setup here. There's a chance of a tornado based off kinematics, but it's not anything that you can have a lot of confidence in. So we'll watch that go, and then we'll go over to the surface-based cape with the GFS here. So we'll actually rewind this back here. You can see the storm system coming in. See a couple of different areas where the instability is a little bit more rich. So we'll try this area here first. And the key difference is, like I said, with the low maturing a little bit earlier and amplified cyclonic motion here as well, the low level jet looks a little bit better. Slightly steeper lapse rates, but no real surprise that we don't have anything impressive here. Like I said, low cape event from the looks of it here, but kinematics are going to be the key here, and then of course the other parts of the thermodynamics look solid. But mostly I think this would be a messy storm mode. This would be nothing like what we saw this last weekend. I would expect at the very least not to see anything like that, but a lot of people weren't expecting last weekend to end up performing in the manner that it did. So still keep your guard up, but I'll have a lot less confidence in this than I do last week, if that's worth anything to you. But as a whole here, Florida looks interesting for the weekend for sure. And then beyond that point, could be a little bit of activity over towards South Carolina on Sunday afternoon, but that's even more questionable than the Florida setup on Saturday night into Sunday morning. So last but not least, we'll go and take a look at our total precipitation here. We're going to go pretty much to 90 hours and just go from there. We'll do the same thing on the Euro as well. And the thing I'm going to make note of here, of course, you see a lot more precipitation more so towards the panhandle of Florida with the GFS. With the Euro, it's a little bit further to the east by a slight margin. It's a little further into the bend of Florida. But for the most part, the bullseye is about the same. 4 to 5 inches could be possible here as that storm system takes its time progressing through the state and then eventually off to the north and east. Some other areas to make note of that are very noteworthy when it comes to potential precipitation totals here. South Carolina, of course, and then also the southeastern Atlantic coast in general. There's a pocket over here towards Georgia where we could see up to about 4, maybe even 5 inches there as well on both runs. A little bit more of a push inland with the GFS though. So like I said, these small little changes, that, like I said, the maturation of the cyclone itself as it tries to develop is going to be a key factor for severe weather and also just rainfall totals in general. With that being said, that's all I got for you guys on this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, sure you smash that like button, decimate that subscribe button, obliterate that share button. That being said, I will see you guys tomorrow with the weekend forecast. Till then, take care, have a good night. It's been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. Till next time.